You are listening to The Brian Craig Show podcast, broadcasting from sunny South Florida. Brian is joined by his wife and co-host, Kathy. Follow Brian on social media at BrianCraigShow.com. And now, Brian and Kathy.
Welcome to the program, everyone. I'm Brian Craig, always joined by my wife and co-host, Kathy. Thanks so much, everyone, for tuning in. We've got a lot to talk about on the podcast today. All right, so in the aftermath of the disaster of Ron DeSantis' launch, which we'll talk about later in the show, because I talked about that this morning a lot, and people have been talking about, we will talk about that later in the podcast, but there's been a new happening. And Ron DeSantis, I've come to realize, and I this is not a joke, I'm not kidding. I mean this. This is serious as a heart attack. Ron DeSantis is the least self-aware person I've ever heard of in this country, I must tell you. Not only did he have the most epic, most embarrassing fail of an opening of a presidential campaign in the history of American presidential politics, his support in his own state of Florida has dropped to record lows. We do not have a recall system in Florida. If we had a recall system under Florida law, there would be a movement that probably would be successful to recall Ron DeSantis as governor of the state of Florida. He is that unpopular here. And I'm not just saying because of me. In the latest poll among Republicans in Florida between Donald Trump and Ron DeSantis, Donald Trump is 28 points ahead of Ron DeSantis. That may even be larger now after his announcement. So 28 points. And that one's very significant because Ron DeSantis is the sitting governor of Florida. He was just reelected a few months ago to his second term, and he's 28 points behind Donald Trump. He doesn't seem to be aware of any of this. He seems to be playing to some other people. And he went on the Clay Aiken, Buck Sexton show today. I know his name's not Clay Aiken. That's just me ridiculing. Clay Aiken's the gay guy from American Idol with the smelly feet. Remember that? But he went on that show today and talked about pardoning Donald Trump. I want to play this for you, and then we'll talk about it. This is incredibly insane of Ron DeSantis. So you'll hear the guys, and then you'll hear DeSantis. This just happened today.
You agree? You have a law. You've obviously been very aggressive legally in what you can and cannot do as the governor of Florida. Department of Justice, the FBI, has gone after the January 6th defendants with reckless, I would say, abandon. A big part of being president is pardon powers. Do you think the January 6th defendants deserve to have their cases examined by a Republican president? And if Trump, let's say, gets charged with federal offenses and you are the president of the United States, would you look at potentially pardoning Trump himself based on the evidence that might emerge of those charges?
The DOJ and FBI have been weaponized. We see that. We see it in a variety of contexts. Some of what you mentioned, some of it is the FBI going after parents going to school board meetings. Some of it's how they treat a pro-life demonstrator, how they don't go after people that are attacking pro-lifers. And so what I'm going to do is on day one, I will have folks that will get together and look at all these cases who people are victims of weaponization or political targeting, and we will be aggressive at issuing pardons. Now, some of these cases, some people may have a technical violation of the law, but if there are three other people who did the same thing, but just in a context like BLM, and they don't get prosecuted at all, that is uneven application of justice. And so we're going to find ways where that did not happen, and then we will use the pardon power. And I will do that at the front end. You know, a lot of people wait until the end of the administration to issue pardons. We're going to find examples where government's been weaponized against disfavored groups, and we will apply relief as appropriate. But it will be done on a case-by-case basis, because I think you got to make sure that there's a whole bunch of cases that don't necessarily get headlines. But if people are being treated just because they don't get on TV or something, they're being treated disfavorably. They need to have a fair hearing as well.
And that could be from a grandma who got arrested and prosecuted too much all the way up to potentially Trump himself. Is that fair to say when you analyze what the charges might have been brought on a federal level?
I would say any example of disfavored treatment based on politics or weaponization would be included in that review, no matter how small or how big.
Okay. So, let's talk about this. So he mentioned Trump's name twice to DeSantis, and he didn't say, if I am being interviewed, okay, and they ask me that question, would you pardon Trump? I say, pardon him for what? He's done no crime.
Exactly.
The January 6th Kangaroo Committee cleared him. He was cleared in all these different reports and investigations, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. No, he won't be getting a pardon because he did no crime. He will not be charged. And what Ron DeSantis did there wasn't just dance around the question. He is saying, without saying it, that in his mind, Donald Trump is a criminal, and he has criminal connections to January 6th, and that's what Ron DeSantis is saying there. I don't understand what's going through this guy's head. He has been completely lying to. He's almost like one of those sleeper agents, like in the Americans, those sleeper Russian agents that live as Americans.
I think there's a lot of
totally
things
different person
going on behind the scenes. Like now they're saying Mark Meadows, who was Trump's chief of staff, is working with Jack Smith, the special counsel. There's a lot of things going on. I'm not excusing DeSantis, but there's a lot of things going on behind the scenes that we don't know yet with this special investigation. And I believe that DeSantis believes that Trump will be in jail
and
next
he wants
year.
him to be in jail.
By this time next year, he will be in jail, and that he will not be able to run. He will be taken off the ballot. So I don't think he is sweating these polls. I don't think he's concerned at all.
Yeah.
I think he's going to be patient. He's going to wait it out, and he figures he'll be in jail, and I'll run with it then. People are going to vote for me no matter what if they're Republican because they'll have no other option. And I really believe that's how he feels. That's why I don't think it's an issue of anymore of being deluded. I think that's really what he believes. I think that the deep state and the people on the left and people on the right they are working together to make sure that Trump will not be on the ballots one way or another. And putting him in prison is they're gonna get him on the Stormy Daniels, the Georgia thing. Now they're talking about the Mar-a-Lago. They got 3 things going. And they have tried everything, and they're getting so close now to what they want. And I don't think they're going to stop till they get it. So that's what's going on with that. And I think there's a lot of people at Rollins and all these people that are really, really connected politically that are working with DeSantis now. And he has their ear, and he knows what's going on behind the scenes. And that is why he's so confident and not worried about any of this stuff.
It looks like Ron DeSantis' entire campaign strategy is for Donald Trump to be arrested and put in jail. And that what you said, Kathy, his attitude is screw them all. Trump's going to be in jail. I'm going to be the nominee. And these redneck MAGA Republicans aren't going to vote Democrat. They're going to vote for me. And I'll go on to victory. That's exactly what this sounds like. And I've got news for you. This is what's going to happen. Now, I don't think they're going to be as successful. I think Donald Trump's going to get the nomination and go on to win. However, it's just I'm going to talk about their fantasy, so we can have the discussion.
You never know.
If somehow Ron DeSantis's fantasy, and we know this is his fantasies because when this Bragg thing happened, he said, "I'll stay out of it. I'll let the system what the system that George Soros has bought and paid for. Yeah, we'll let that work, DeSantis. Great, yeah, right." Ron DeSantis wants Trump to be arrested. He expects it to happen. But this is what I think. If his fantasy were to come true, I'm not saying this is going to happen. This is if the DeSantis fantasy comes true. If they somehow do what DeSantis is, and who's part of the deep state planning all of this, if that is successful and he gets the nomination, I think the MAGA Republicans nationwide will organize a stay home and don't vote campaign. And
how would you feel about that? Would you rather have Biden get in another 4 years than DeSantis? If you had to choose between
I don't think
those
it matters because, what we've been talking about a lot, but Eric Bolling talked about this on Newsmax late last week, Thursday or Friday last week. Eric Bolling was talking about this, and I've talked about it since because he put that thought in my mind. we're now moving to a one-party system, right? So if these DeSantis team of people and their co-conspirators, the Bush war crime family and all these people, if they're successful in doing that, what difference does it really make between Ron DeSantis and Biden? What's going on?
The Bushes got us into a war.
Yeah, on a lot. And
they got us into an actual war for no reason.
And here's
what costs lives.
Yeah.
Trillions
still
of dollars.
Costing lives. And
still costing lives.
What DeSantis,
it's horrible.
What DeSantis is doing in Florida, he's signing a lot of bills into law that are very conservative, and they're good bills. I don't want to take that away from him, but I question his motivation. I think Ron DeSantis is passing like the abortion bans and all. These are all good things, but I think he's doing it just to firm up his conservatism, thinking we're going to vote for him anyway. I think there will be a massive nationwide campaign of stay home and don't vote because of a Ron DeSantis betrayal. Somebody called me this morning on the morning show and said, I don't know why you're attacking DeSantis. If he gets the nomination, you're going to have to back him. No, I do not have to back him. And I'm not just going to vote for someone because they got an R next to their name with what is going on here. Donald Trump is the nominee and the way that he's behaving. Now, I want to move on to another person.
Well, I will say real quick before you move on is MAGA has seen the power of boycotting. With Target now, they've lost $9 billion in a week with Bud Light, and they have seen very quickly in real time the power of boycotting companies and things like that. So this would be a national boycott to vote. They just wouldn't show up. And I can see what you're saying. And since they've seen the result of that and they see how powerful that message can send, I could see them doing that and saying, we're not going to show up and screw this guy.
That's right.
And now, lose in a landslide.
Now, there was another betrayal, and I know he's denying it now, but we're going to talk about it, and it's Mark Levin. Mark Levin interviewed DeSantis, and let me tell you, and then he did something that was a betrayal that he's defending today, and he's very snarky about it too. But Mark Levin interviewed DeSantis. If I were to interview Ron DeSantis, it would be to call him out on the carpet for his betrayal, okay? It's just like interviewing Ron DeSantis and not calling him out on his lies and his betrayal and his low poll numbers in Florida, et cetera, would be like having Pence on like Kennedy likes to do all the time and doing these fluffy fluff interviews with Mike Pence, okay? It's ridiculous. So Mark Levin gave a kissy interview to Ron DeSantis, and then Mark Levin posted on his Twitter the official fundraising webpage for Ron DeSantis for president. And I saw that, and others saw that, and people are pissed. And I tell you guys all the time, never trust a never Trumper. There's a lot of these never Trumpers, of which Mark Levin was one in the first campaign during the primary until Trump started winning. Then all of a sudden he was on the Trump train. Candace Owen. These never Trumpers show their true colors all of the time. And Mark Levin, I understand interviewing DeSantis. Okay, I'll give him a pass on that, although I think he should go after him. But okay, whatever. Go ahead and go talk to Pence next, okay? I'm sure you're buddies with him too. But to put the fundraising link on his Twitter, to me, is a betrayal. And Mark
says he's doing it for all the candidates.
Well, that's the end of my sentence that I was getting to.
Oh,
so Mark Levin said that he puts the fundraising link for all the candidates or whoever he interviews on his website. Well, if I were I don't think if Mark Levin were interviewing the president of Planned Parenthood that he would put the Planned Parenthood fundraising link on his Twitter. I don't accept that. Just because you interview someone, I mean, if he had an Antifa person or a BLMer on, would he put the BLMer fundraising link on his Twitter? I don't think so. I don't buy that. I don't think that's any excuse. He was a never Trumper, and President Trump saved him. President Trump saved Mark Levin. You guys got to remember, Glenn Beck destroyed his career being a never Trumper. And in the first campaign, he's never fully recovered from it. He was tops in the business. He probably would have replaced Rush when Rush passed away, but he became a never Trumper. He destroyed himself, and he's never recovered from it. Mark Levin was on that same path and trying to correct it, and President Trump came in and started talking nice about Mark Levin and inviting him over and giving him interviews and all this stuff, and he saved Mark Levin, and I consider that a betrayal. And I don't think Mark Levin can be trusted. And I don't accept his excuse. Well, I put all the maybe he does. If he does, you shouldn't do that. I mean, if he had Pence, if he interviewed Pence, who, we know about Pence, would it be right for him to put Pence's fundraising link up there? I don't think so. Why?
Speaking of Pence,
why would he have to do that?
CNN is giving him a town hall, which I think is a complete waste of time. And Nikki
sure to miss
Haley,
that.
They're getting a town hall each. I think those, I don't think CNN, obviously they want to try to be super political.
I will not be watching those.
But nobody's going to watch those. It's a complete waste of time as far as I'm concerned. No interest in that. I mean, Pence and Nikki Haley aren't even players in this at all. This is all about Trump and DeSantis.
So you guys, let us know in the comments your thoughts on a couple of these things. One, in that pardon discussion with DeSantis, with Buck Sexton and Clay Travis, is DeSantis in your mind saying Trump is a criminal? I think so. Do you think that Ron DeSantis has a campaign strategy based around a fantasy that Donald Trump is going to be in jail?
I do.
I want to hear your thoughts on that. Let us know in the comments. And the other thing, share in the comments your feelings on Mark Levin putting the fundraising link for Ron DeSantis up on his Twitter. Now, Father's Day is right around the corner, and I'm a dad, so I know what dads would like for Father's Day. And I got to tell you, if you go to mypillow.com, there are incredible gifts at mypillow.com that dad will love, okay? The MyPillow, My Slippers are less than $50 now. They're $100 off for Father's Day. All sizes, all colors, the slip-ons, the moccasins, they're very nice, for less than $50. They're a great, great deal. And I'll tell you about the MyPillow, My Slippers, okay? They're good for all day wear, not just at night around the house. Steve wore his on the cruise. He wore them to dinner in the dining room with his suit, even on formal night, and no one noticed because they're so nice. And they make a great Father's Day gift. You can take advantage of all the specials at mypillow.com with our promo code Kane at checkout, Kane. In fact, you can save up to 80% off. In the MyPillow, My Slippers, there's a whole bunch of new sizes, larger sizes and wider widths. Also, the MyPillow 2.0 with cooling technology is buy one, get one free with our promo code Kane at checkout, Kane. And that's also a great gift for Father's Day. But like I say, anything you see there, Dad will love, and you'll get a great deal when you use our promo code Kane, Kane, at checkout at mypillow.com.
If you're ready for a chilling and captivating new true crime podcast, then add What We Lose in the Shadows to your podcast playlist right now. Join Jameis and Caroline, a father-daughter team of amateur sleuths, as they examine baffling missing persons cases, ice-cold mysteries, and spine-tingling crimes that will leave you on the edge of your seat. Filled with riveting discussions, analysis, and captivating storytelling, they bring light to the stories that need to be told and the victims who deserve justice. Don't miss an episode of What We Lose in the Shadows, the must-listen to true crime podcast that will keep you guessing and coming back for more. Available on Spotify, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, and wherever you get your podcast. Add What We Lose in the Shadows to your podcast playlist right now. Fantasy fans, get ready to be transported to the world of Edelstrad with author Sebastian Priest's thrilling new novel, The Hand of the Executioner, available right now on Amazon. Meet Victor, the city's chief executioner. He's caught between ruthless criminals and scheming nobles, fighting for his life and livelihood in a city teetering on the brink of chaos. As whispers of gang wars and dangerous smuggling operations fill the air, Victor finds himself in a race against time to avoid a deadly fate. The Hand of the Executioner is an action-packed, intense journey and is your next must-read book. Order your copy of The Hand of the Executioner from author Sebastian Priest. Available on Amazon. Don't miss out. Your adventure awaits. From author Alan Henry Bender comes your next must-read book, Preparing for Eternity, available on Amazon. In Preparing for Eternity, the author asks the timeless question, are you going to heaven? Do you find your faith in God the Father, the Holy Bible, and salvation through Jesus Christ? Discover the transformative journey of the author's own testimony and find inspiration for joyful change in your own life. True Eternity is about prioritizing God and fostering a deep, enduring relationship with the divine. Are you prepared to embark on this eternal journey that begins now and lasts forever? Don't leave your heavenly fate to hope alone. Become absolutely certain of your eternal destination. Order your copy of Preparing for Eternity from author Alan Henry Bender and guide your faith's growth, reveal the workings of God's love, and empower you to love and serve others. Make the leap of faith today for a divine transformation. Preparing for Eternity from author Alan Henry Bender is available on Amazon.
You are listening to the Brian Craig Show podcast, broadcasting from sunny South Florida. Brian is joined by his wife and co-host, Kathy. Follow Brian on social media at briancraigshow.com. And now, Brian and Kathy.
Welcome back, everyone. I'm Brian, always joined by my wife and co-host Kathy. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in. All right, now, you've heard the stories lately of the government, the FBI, infiltrating Catholic churches, and they've determined that they're terrorists, domestic terrorists. And you've heard this type of talk, but it's getting worse. Listen to this. The Biden regime,
I just read this too,
is doling out taxpayer money through an anti-terrorism grant initiative to a university program that has lumped the Republican Party, as well as Christian and conservative groups, into the same category as Nazis, according to newly discovered documents. The Media Research Center, a conservative watchdog group, obtained documents through a Freedom of Information Act request showing a Department of Homeland Security program meant to fight terrorism is funding a group whose work has explicitly targeted the American political right. And that's, MAGA Republicans. The Terrorism Task Force is engaged in an active effort to demonize and eliminate Christian, conservative, and Republican organizations, says Brent Bozell, founder and president of the Media Research Center. He's a good guy. What we have uncovered calls for criminal prosecution. The Department of Homeland Security's Targeted Violence and Terrorism Prevention Grant Program provides funds to vary. It goes on and on. This is what. Let me tell you what's happened here. Okay, a few things have happened. One, Obama was president a long time ago. It doesn't seem like a long time ago, but it was. Obama was elected 15 years ago. Okay, can you believe it's been that? He was elected in 2008. It's 2023 now. And when Obama was in his first term, we used to all talk about this a lot. He was filling up the ranks of the bureaucracy in Washington with radical people, many of them Muslim, and very, very radical people. And here we are. These people have been in these bureaucracy jobs in the different government departments and agencies for 15 years, some of them. And what's happened is they've made their way up to the supervisory positions, okay? And they're calling the shots. The bureaucracy is being run by Obama appointees. In fact, Obama did some of the largest hiring of people in the bureaucracy in decades. I remember talking about this all the time, and now here we are seeing it. And I remember after 9/11, when Homeland Security was put together, okay, there was a massive, massive cheering on by everyone in this country of the Patriot Act and Department of Homeland Security and all of these things. And I wasn't the only one who said this at the time. A lot of conservative people said it. Beware of anything that the government is passing that they're calling patriotic, or security, because it typically is just the opposite. And here we are all these years later, and these organizations and rules and laws like the FISA Court we heard with the Trump, remember all that was struck and all that, that was put in place after 9/11 to protect the homeland from Islamic terrorist acts like 9/11 has been switched to be used against Americans who are conservatives. And the reason they're doing this, it's all a reaction to Donald Trump, because Donald Trump got elected, and it's not just that he got elected, he's so incredibly popular now. And if you remember, after 9/11, the FBI and other groups were working to infiltrate mosques and Muslim organizations. They didn't have a network inside of these organizations. And now they're using those same type of organizations to get inside MAGA groups and things like this. And I've become highly paranoid. Okay, if you're in some type of MAGA group at this point, like if you're in a Trump club or a Republican club in your local community,
or a talk show host.
Yeah, there's a good chance that club is being run by FBI agents.
Yeah,
and
they
informers.
Definitely might, like Club 45.
Who knows?
Maybe they've infiltrated that. I wouldn't be surprised. It's a huge group.
There have been things that I've been invited to that I've not gone to because I said, come on, and I'm talking about like private parties and private events, not public events. I'm talking about private things with people that are kind of like on the conservative celebrity roster of people.
Brian, you can't even go to church anymore. And we're Catholic. We can't even go to church.
And I haven't gone to a lot of these
what
things
a shame.
Because I figure half the people there are federal agents, and what they want to do is take the names down of the other half of people that show up.
Well, there's an article in the Gateway Pundit that is the same as this. They have now put Christians, conservatives in the same group as Nazis officially and terrorists through the Biden regime. So they've officially labeled that not just MAGA, but all conservatives and all Christians. I mean, this is they're infiltrating churches and schools. I mean, this is really frightening.
Well,
what's happening here is like what they do in these third world countries. Like in China and Venezuela and stuff. This is what they do. Cuba.
That's exactly right. And they actually believe that we're dangerous and we're Nazis and all these things.
Oh yeah, they definitely believe
when you're dealing with and they, when you look at what these evildoers are doing, they don't think they're doing evil.
No.
They think they're saving the country. Okay, I know it sounds crazy, but
look at this article I just sent you. Yeah, New York Post. It's it ties in with all that.
I want to say so. These left-wing lunatics think they're really going after Nazis and white nationalists and domestic terrorists. So if you're going after Nazis, anything goes.
That's right.
They don't, Nazis don't have rights, or they feel totally justified in what they're doing, and they don't even understand that they're doing something wrong.
Well, that's why they label us those things so they can shut us down and justify what they're doing to our grid because we're a danger to the country.
That's right.
So they have no choice.
I give you an example of something that there was. I couldn't believe someone contacted me and they said, "Oh, there's a." This is crazy. I don't think I've shared this with you guys. I'm pretty sure
Have you shared it with me.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I couldn't.
I don't want to be shocked here.
So people call me sometimes to promote events that they have coming up.
Right.
And a guy called me who befriended me. I've met this guy. I'm not friends with him. I don't know him really, but I'm very suspicious of this person now. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I ran into them at a MAGA group.
Who is this?
I don't want to get too specific on the show here. I'll tell you off air. But this guy approached me. People come up to me all the time because they know me from, the radio or something, And when I'm at MAGA events, people come up to me. And this guy came up to me and was in a odd way. I was at a MAGA event, of which I'm not going to name. And not that it was anything, I just don't want to tip off the guy and stuff that I'm talking about. I was leaving in my car, and the guy got out. It was in his car, and stopped his car, got out of his car, and came up to my car to meet me. Which okay, and I got friendly with the guy, talked to the guy, and for some reason I gave him my cell phone number. I don't know. So anyway, he showed up at a couple other things I went to out of the blue, and one of them really caught me off guard because no one knew I was going to be there, so I thought, and the guy showed up there.
Weird.
And I thought that was a little strange. Like, this is getting a little creepy. I don't know, how did he even know I was here? And
he just starts showing up in places where you are. And that is a little weird.
And then
he's following.
And then he reached out to me and he said, "Oh, there's this event coming up for President Trump at Mar-a-Lago. Can you promote it?" And I was like, "Well, what's the event?" And he, just a bunch of MAGA people are going to get together and support President Trump. And I'm thinking, well, what's the occasion? And he said January 6th. They were planning an event for January 6th. He said, I said, what? He said for January 6th. I said no.
No.
I said
clear
no.
of that.
I said no, thank you. That's nothing that I'm going to promote. I haven't talked to the guy since. He hasn't called me either. I mean, what the hell was that about? Who would do such a thing? Yeah. That was maybe it was just a stupid person, or maybe it wasn't. It probably wasn't. Maybe that was something they were trying to set up to get MAGA people to go and at some demonstration on January 6th. This was this year or this last January. I thought, how stupid. You know, you have to be very, very careful. I'll tell you another thing. Don't sign petitions. Don't sign petitions.
Oh, I totally agree with you on that.
You know, the MAGA movement is a peaceful movement, and that does nothing wrong. But what's happening is, I think our movement is being hijacked by a lot of these infiltrators
I think you're right.
that are trying to push people into saying and doing things.
And it could be like a James O'Keefe thing where they're recording you.
Mm-hmm.
And when
always assume you're being recorded.
Yeah, when that kind of stuff happens, people get very easily led to say what they want you to say.
Yes.
And then they edit it, and the next thing you know, you're in the Daily Mail. and you're being labeled. I feel that things are going to amp up only more over this election, between what's going on with Trump and the DOJ and what's going on with DeSantis and the deep state. I think it's going to be probably the craziest election season we've ever seen in our lifetime. And I really resent Ron DeSantis for trying to create such a divide and trying to take advantage of what's happening to Trump to profit off of this. He should be standing behind Trump and waiting and not working against him. But I think, like I said, they have convinced him that Trump will not be on the ballot, and there's got to be somebody there, and it might as well be him, and that he can beat Biden. And I think him and his wife, apparently, who's pulling his strings, apparently, who looks like Priscilla Presley from the 50s, they believe this. And it's unfortunate. And I think there are people that are on DeSantis's side, outwardly, that are really not. And they're part of the deep state. And they're encouraging DeSantis to create this MAGA division to help Biden. Mm-hmm. And I could see that happening with some of these deep state people, that if they can split the vote, as long as they help get Biden in, that's all that matters. And what I'm concerned about is if Trump loses the nomination, which I don't think will happen, but I'm concerned he would run as a third party, which would definitely ensure that Biden would win. But like you said, a lot of people I don't think would vote for DeSantis anyway. I'm not sure what I would do about it. And I see DeSantis now starting to go after Trump on certain things, and Trump's going after him, and it's really amped up a lot. Do you think there is any part of Trump that he's a little afraid of DeSantis catching up to him or anything?
No, he's too. First of all, he's too far behind. He could not catch up
for now.
No, he's too far.
But polls do change.
No, not this dramatically. There would have to be something major beyond imagination.
People are very loyal to Trump, and he has that on his side. Nobody's loyal to DeSantis. They might like him. There are people that like him because I've read a lot of, there's no chaos and blah, 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 this stuff, and there are people, he's got like 16% of people that like him. But there's not that loyalty there that Trump has. I don't know any politician that has had the same loyalty that Trump has had that's been lasting and sustained. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Biden, there's no loyalty to Biden. It's just anti-Trump sentiment. That's what got him in, it got so many votes, is people that hate Trump voted for him and helped him. But there's no love of Biden or that I can see or major loyalty to him. But and I just sent you this article in the New York Post, which ties in with these liberals. And I've said this all along. The thing that drives liberals, in my opinion, the most is a God complex.
Yeah.
And a feeling, it draws people that like to feel empowered over others. I mean, and this is not new. I mean, this happened during the time of slavery. They were all Democrats and they had power over blacks. And they had that power for hundreds of years. And they still have power over the black community in a different way. Power over the gay community. They convinced them that they're victims. I just saw a video on TikTok somebody put on social media. This gay woman in Florida, this is crazy. She and her wife, they live in Florida. They have an emergency escape plan in place to leave the state if they have to. That is how endangered they feel, because the media has convinced them that they are in danger. Nothing could be further from the truth. You are in more danger walking in New York City, okay, and going on the subway. There are no people being beaten in the streets or harassed for their sexuality or anything like that. They're really overblowing this. But anyway, this article in the New York Post, they did a huge study, and they determined that people that are on the radical left are psychopaths.
Yes, that's true.
And
that's true.
Narcissistic.
Yes, it's true.
And I thought that was so interesting, because that's what we have said all along, that these are narcissistic psychopaths, sociopaths, people that, and it says in the article specifically, it attracts people that love to feel power over others. And you and I have said this for a long time, because they don't care about the rule of law or actual justice. They care about is intimidation and forcing people to go along with them through violence. Yeah. So it was interesting that is tied to the left. There's just a real divide and culture war going on in the country, and I don't think it's new. I mean, if you go back to the revolutionary time, they were tar and feathering people in the streets, which would kill you. I mean, there was division then. I mean, there was a major division. The Civil War was the biggest time of division. I mean, Americans were killing each other over this issue, over the issue of slavery. So division in this country is not new.
No, but the division has always been by the left.
Yeah, they're the ones who seem to always be creating the problem.
These lunatic lesbians.
They're never satisfied.
These lunatic lesbians with the escape plan from Florida. Okay.
Did you find the audio on that?
No.
Let me try to find the audio. It's
okay.
pretty good.
I know, I just hearing about this for the first time from you.
Yeah, let me try to find the audio.
The thing with a lot of liberals, their whole identity is feeling like people hate them and oppress them and disapprove of them, when it's probably not the case at all. No one cares about them. All right, now listen, we're going to take our last break and come back. Don't go anywhere. We've got a lot more to talk about. I'm Brian, always joined by my wife and co-host Kathy. Back after this.
Robert Allen Miltenberg invites you to time travel with him to the Roman future. His new novella, available at Amazon.com and Barnes & Noble. It's the golden age of Rome, a time of peace and prosperity. And Scadius Commodius Lavatorius is its greatest scientist. But for all he's achieved, one question haunts him. Will Rome survive the test of time? There's only one way to find out. Come along on this cosmic romp of an adventure. See if you can read the signs any better than a brilliant scientist can. Prediction, science fiction, allegory, national glory. This is a satire at its most gladiatorial. Center stage in the Circus Maximus of your mind. A story of time machines and timeless politics, strange Roman cuisine and gambling parlor tricks, spinning gold and crossing the river Styx. That's the Roman future. Available on Kindle and paperback. Go to Amazon or Barnes & Noble now and visit The Roman Future by Robert Allen Miltenberg today. Have you dreamed of starting a successful online business but didn't know how or even where to begin? If you're ready to turn your dreams of a successful online business into reality, look no further. Introducing How to Start an Online Business, your ultimate guide to navigating the exciting world of online commerce. This comprehensive resource is designed to equip aspiring entrepreneurs just like you with the knowledge, tools, and strategies needed to launch and grow your digital venture. From idea to successful launch, How to Start an Online Business provides step-by-step guidance and valuable insights at every stage of your entrepreneurial journey. It's packed with actionable tips, real-life case studies, and expert advice from successful online entrepreneurs. How to Start an Online Business is more than just theory. It's a practical resource that empowers you to make informed decisions and overcome obstacles. No matter your background or experience level, this book can help you harness the power of the internet and create your digital empire. Visit etechecommerce.com/opt-in for a free video and ebook on how to start an online business. etechecommerce.com/opt-in and begin your journey to online entrepreneurship. etechecommerce.com/opt-in. Parents, grandparents, and teachers, there's a heartwarming new children's book from author James Carey that you will want to add to your child's must-read list. Strong Evan, Evan and the Adventures of Diabetes, now available on Amazon. Join Evan, a young boy living with diabetes, as he embarks on a series of exciting adventures while learning to manage his condition. Evan refuses to let diabetes hold him back, and with the help of his continuous glucose monitor, insulin pump, and the support of his loving family, he lives life to the fullest. From playing soccer and swimming to climbing mountains and exploring the ocean, he shows that anything is possible when you have determination and a positive attitude. Throughout the book, Evan and his family cook healthy meals and engage in open conversation about managing diabetes. This book teaches valuable life lessons and will inspire young readers. Strong Evan is an engaging and educational story that empowers children to face challenges head on while promoting understanding and empathy for those living with diabetes. Order your copy of Strong Evan, Evan and the Adventures of Diabetes from author James Carey on Amazon right now, and give your child the gift of courage, confidence, and compassion with this wonderful children's book.
You are listening to the Brian Craig Show podcast, broadcasting from sunny South Florida. Brian is joined by his wife and co-host, Kathy. Follow Brian on social media at briancraigshow.com. And now, Brian and Kathy.
All right, welcome back. So we found the audio of this lunatic woman that we were talking about in the last segment.
Her and her girlfriend.
Yeah.
Not her wife.
The lunatic lesbians. Right.
Yes.
All right, let's listen.
Last night, my girlfriend Kelly and I had a conversation that in my wildest dreams I would have never imagined that I would be having. We talked about leaving the state of Florida, and not only just leaving, but the fact that we need to start developing a plan to leave on a whim's notice in an emergency situation if things get really bad. And, we've been talking for a while about how do we know when it's that time to go? When is it so obvious that it's so unsafe? And I think for us, this week was really that kicker. Between the 6-week abortion ban, the travel advisories that were put out for members of the LGBTQ plus community traveling to Florida. And then I think what was the real kicker was finding out yesterday that a new bill has been proposed that would allow medical doctors and insurance companies the ability to deny care to anyone that they choose if they believe that the person they are treating goes against their moral or religious beliefs. And the kicker with this one is that law, if passed, would grant legal protection for the doctors and the insurance companies denying care. Let's also not forget that in Florida, we also have permitless carry now. We also have book bans. We also have the Don't Say Gay bill. And then there's other talks of things being proposed, such as banning pride festivals in the state, right? And I think the scariest one is the proposed bill that the state of Florida can take emergency protective custody over children if any family member believes that that child may be at risk of receiving gender-affirming care, or if they are currently in the process of receiving that care, or even if they have a sibling that is receiving gender-affirming care. And as someone who spent 6 years as a therapist working in the foster care and child welfare system in the state of Florida, I can tell you that there are no resources for the children currently in the system, let alone adding more children to that system.
Okay. So she has this escape plan from Florida. Okay. All these things she's talking about are lies. In fact, Florida is probably, outside of like San Francisco, probably one of the most gay-friendly places in all of the United States.
Yep.
The two major, I guess, cities in Florida, like where tourists come, outside of like the Disney World area in Orlando, is Fort Lauderdale and Miami. Fort Lauderdale and Miami is run by gays. Fort Lauderdale has a gay mayor, okay? These are very gay cities. So far as these pride festivals, there were 2 pride festivals that were canceled by the organizers themselves.
Right.
And they very, very well may have, they weren't canceled because of any threats or anything. They may have canceled them because they didn't have enough people interested to carry it out, which is a very big possibility. Or they wanted to create this false narrative that pride festivals are in danger. So
I just realized why I think all that's happening. I think New York and California are desperate to get people back to move there.
Yeah.
They have lost a lot of people, those two states. They've had a huge exodus because of the COVID, and I think they're desperate to try to get people to move back. Mm-hmm. So they've issued these travel advisors. They've had these groups do this in an effort to do that. And it's funny how she's a lesbian and she's concerned about abortions. But
exactly.
This is,
it
shows you how easily people are brainwashed and how powerful fear is in manipulating people. This woman who probably does not have children, she's gay, she's concerned with abortion and children getting gender-affirming care, two things that probably will never affect her life personally. And gay pride things have been canceled by the organizers, like you said. No one's canceling them from the government. The thing with the medical, that really, I think, from what I've read, has to do with doctors who don't want to perform gender-affirming treatment can opt out of it. It doesn't mean the person won't get that treatment, but a doctor,
by the way,
if they feel it's not ethical or abortion, they could say, look, I don't want to do it.
Okay, so just
let another doctor handle it.
Gender-affirming is a very liberal term. Gender-affirming is a sex change operation.
Exactly. Okay, it's basically cutting off body parts.
They don't want to
sterilization.
They don't want to say sex change operation, right. So they say gender-affirming care, and they're getting all of it. Let me tell you, there are just because someone
is unhinged.
Just because someone is a doctor doesn't mean they're a moral person. Mengele was a doctor. Okay, doctors work in these abortion clinics. Okay,
yeah,
and a lot of doctors. In fact, more doctors than you realize are not really in it for healthcare. They're business people. And they have a private practice that does things. And there's been different types of fads with the medical business over the years. One that's kind of died off, as crazy as this sounds, is hair transplants. Now guys just shave their head. So there aren't as many hair transplants doctors.
Or they get their head tattooed now.
Yeah, they do that too. But there aren't as many hair transplant doctors as there used to be. There used to be so many of them. Now there's only not a handful in our area. And that's because guys shave their heads now and go for the Mr. Clean look. Mm-hmm. A lot of doctors are in the medical field as a business. And there's this new field that has opened up, the gender-affirming care, which is sex change operations, which is very lucrative. And, the doctors that were working in the abortion industry, the surgical abortion business has been dying off for years because of the abortion pills and things like this. So these types of sleazebags that are doctors
are shifting over to this.
That are moving into sex change operation.
You're right. Same type of person.
Yeah. And what happens is, if you remember that, I forgot her name now, that was the Planned Parenthood. Yeah, Abby Johnson. Abby Johnson, who we interviewed on this show, they made that movie about her and everything. She was talking about the whole business in the abortion clinic was to sell them on the surgical abortion because that's where the money was.
Right. They've lost a lot of money now. You're right. Now this is where they've shifted over to.
So
I never thought of it that way.
If a child or a parent or any adult go to one of these sex change clinics that they call them gender affirming care, but they're sex change. It's just like abortion clinics called themselves family planning. They didn't call themselves They didn't say abortion clinic. They said family planning. Right. Okay. And the sex change operation places don't call themselves that. They call themselves gender-affirming care centers. So with their job, when you go in there, they want you to get the sex change operation. That's where the money is. So the counseling you get would be, if they even offer any counseling, is to get you into the sex change operation. And for the life of me, a child getting these things done is ridiculous. Like, when our daughter was little, she was huge into Spider-Man. That Spider-Man movie came out, that first one with Tobey Maguire. And she had this Spider-Man shirt that she would not wear any other shirt every day but this Spider-Man shirt.
I had to watch this shirt every night for like 6 months.
Yeah, and so we went out and actually bought more than one of the same shirt because that's all she would wear. And I really didn't care for it because it was kind of like, I thought, a little too boyish for, but that's all she'd wear every day. And it was kind of embarrassing sometimes because she was like in preschool then, And I didn't want the preschool teachers to think she only had one shirt, and it was, and I would say, oh, we've got 3 of these shirts, and then after a while, she didn't care about Spider-Man anymore and didn't like Spider-Man, and she was into something else. And this peer pressure that's going in now to this sex change operation with children is a terrible, terrible fad.
I think
because it's an irreversible fad.
I've never heard anybody say before, and I didn't think of it that way, is the doctors have shifted because they can't make the money doing abortions
the
now.
sleaze bags that go into medicine.
They have shifted into this, and it's probably more lucrative than an abortion because abortions are a surgery, but they're not like a major.
It's in and out.
It's it's like outpatient. I think you do it in a day and then you're done. But getting like breast removal, breast augmentation, penis and all this stuff, sterilization, these are bigger ticket things.
Over years, you have to go back.
And you have to keep going back for constant care and treatment and hormones and all this. Yeah. It's big money. I mean, hormones and all that stuff. So I think you're right. A lot of them has shifted into that. And I personally, if you're a nurse or a doctor and you're working at a hospital and you have a kid that comes in or that law is just to protect doctors from not being forced by the hospital to do these gender affirming surgeries if they don't want to. Like, okay,
sex change operations.
If you're a surgeon, okay, I've had surgeries and I had my thyroid removed a long time ago. And the guy who did it did all kinds of surgeries. He did surgeries for cancer. He did breast removal, everything. He did thyroid removals. He did all kinds of things. He was a general surgeon who specialized in cancers and tumors. And so say you have a surgeon who's a general surgeon and you don't always meet with the surgeon. Sometimes they just give the surgeon the case.
Yeah.
And he gets a case, he gets referred to by a general doctor to look at this kid who's 16 and the parents are on board and they want to cut off her boobs and make her a boy and give her hormones. He should not have to do that surgery if it is against his moral beliefs. I don't think anybody should be forced to do anything that's against their personal morals. It's a free country, and I think a doctor, and this is just protecting doctors from being sued, and a doctor should say, look, I personally don't want to do this, but I will refer you to a doctor who will be happy to help you. And this is just keeping from the parents these liberal parents are crazy, from suing that doctor. I mean, people get sued because they don't make birthday cakes. You don't think a hospital is worried about getting sued over this? Yeah. This is a big deal. So this is protecting those doctors. And that's what this lunatic lesbian doesn't seem to understand. Yeah. You should not be forced to perform a surgery or provide treatment for something. Doctors say no to things all the time for other stuff if they don't agree with it. If they don't agree, how many times have you seen where a doctor would recommend one therapy and the patient was like, I don't want to do that. I want to do this. A doctor will say to that person, well, you know what? I don't agree with that. So let me refer you to a different doctor and get a second opinion. That happens all the time. And these doctors have to be protected. The hospitals have to be protected. But lesbians don't need to worry that people are out to get them. If anybody's being targeted, it's Christians and conservatives. I mean, are lesbians on the terror watch list? No, we are. Are lesbian groups being infiltrated by the FBI?
Exactly.
No, our churches are. Our Catholic churches. These people are not being targeted. Christians and conservatives are being targeted.
Exactly.
It's not safe for us. I don't know what the hell maybe we should have an escape plan.
Yeah,
no,
maybe.
We're in Florida, so right now we're good.
Now, I want to take a moment to thank all of our Patreon supporters.
What a lunatic.
For their support of the program. And those of you that are patrons to the program, thank you so much. And your support does help the show a lot, let me tell you. And we're very grateful for it. All Patreon supporters have access to commercial-free editions of each and every podcast episode. And if you're a new patron, I upload those on the Patreon page, okay? The commercial-free edition is uploaded on the Patreon page, okay? And you usually get to hear the show much earlier than everybody else, too. We give you access to it as early as as soon as we're done with the show, we get it to you guys first in most every instance. But it's always commercial-free. And by the way, yet again, here we are. This is like the 4th year in a row. The Brian Craig Show podcast has been named the number 3 must listen to conservative podcast in America. And by the way, that's number 3 out of the top 100. Okay. And number 1.
That's incredible. Yeah, we just checked again the other day.
Yeah, we just happened again. Number 1 is Mark Levin. Number 2 is Glenn Beck over there at The Blaze. And number 3 is the Brian Craig Show podcast. So that's an amazing thing. And to be number 3 with those 2 national guys being 1 and 2 on a list of 100 is absolutely amazing.
And let me say that number is determined by downloads and listens across all platforms. It tells you how they get those stats, and it's based on mainly downloads and listens across Spotify
and feedback
and
from listeners.
And feedback.
It's amazing.
That's pretty exciting.
And it's totally independent from us. We don't even have no connection to the people that are connected to this list. It's absolutely amazing. So you Patreon supporters, thank you so much. And our top Patreon supporters get a live on-air thank you shout-out on every episode. So the names you will hear now are the names of our top Patreon supporters. I want to thank Andrew and Connie, Christine, ETW, Chuck, D, Pamela, Rick, Nick, Wesley, Macho, Rome, Wisconsin, Mike P, Carlos, Paulette, John, Arctic Fox, David, Richard, and Melissa. These are our top Patreon supporters. And if you'd like to become a Patreon supporter, there's a link in the episode description on whatever platform you're listening to us on. And there's a direct link on my website, briancraigshow.com. And the direct website address is patreon.com/realbriancraigshow. Patreon.com/realbriancraigshow. Well, guys, thanks everyone for tuning in. I'm Brian Craig, always joined by my wife and co-host Kathy. Don't forget, let us know in the comments your thoughts on everything we've talked about on the program, but most specifically, your thoughts on Mark Levin promoting the Ron DeSantis fundraiser, which is outrageous, and Ron DeSantis talking about pardoning Trump for January 6th, which is, to me, just insane. We will talk to you next time.